All right. So my name is Mike Swires. I'm the Assistant Region Administrator for the Washington State DOT Northwest Region, uh, part of the Seattle host city group. I'm not directly part of, or the state isn't directly part of the LOC, but we are coordinating, collaborating with the team, uh, we members of the LOC. So I wanted to touch on some of the same things that Natalie just covered from the state transportation system perspective. Our focus is more on regional mobility, making sure people can get into Seattle or through Seattle, depending where they're going. If they're not going to one of the games, people just need to get about their regular daily life. Okay. So similar to what Natalie showed, the calendar that we've got for games is laid out here. There are 6 games taking place in Seattle, and then to our north in Vancouver, BC, there are 7 games. So we've got 13 between the two cities. We're about 150 miles apart. So we're expecting a lot of cross-border travel and travel up and down the I-5 corridor between the two cities, and even down through Portland, drawing folks up from down there. A number of games are back-to-back between Vancouver and Seattle matches. In a few instances, games are occurring on the same day. So again, the expectation is we'll see a lot of back and forth travel. Likewise, we've got games occurring on midweek days as well as weekends, and some of those are back-to-back with a game in one city on a Friday or Monday and the other city on a Sunday, for instance. And obviously, we're going to have other events going on around this. There's concerts and whatnot that go on in Seattle. Major League Baseball will be continuing while not playing at the same time as one of the World Cup games. The activity and demand on city transportation facilities or regional facilities is going to be a continued pressure point. Taking a quick look at the Seattle region, the population of Seattle, just for context, is about 760,000 people. The greater metro area is about 3.5 million. If you're familiar with it, we're obviously surrounded by water. We have the largest ferry system in the US. We are very transit reliant getting into downtown or through town. So we've got an expanding light rail system. We've had a heavy rail, commuter rail service that runs through Seattle as well. Amtrak service right near the stadium, along with Greyhound bus. King County Metro has a water taxi service, and they are our primary transit provider in downtown with a gazillion routes running around Seattle and throughout the King County area. Looking a little more closely at the stadium area and event site, on the map here, the circle at the bottom, near the bottom, is the main stadium area itself. The green bar shaded area running up to the left from that is the waterfront, newly rebuilt with an awesome promenade with great views and things to see and do as you walk along the waterfront between the stadium and to the north as you head to Seattle Center. Seattle Center, if you can see the icon there for the Space Needle, that is going to be the site of the primary Seattle Fan Fest. It's about 2 miles away from the stadium area. People will have opportunities to walk there. They can also take transit. They can ride light rail to get close to it and take the monorail. So a number of options for folks to be able to get into and around downtown Seattle during the event. The T symbols on this map indicate where we've got transit centers or transit stations for those cross connections between light rail and other modes. Looking a little more closely at the stadium area itself, others have described stadium security, and that's what this graphic is getting at. The dotted line in the center of the map is showing the primary secure ticketed only access into the stadium area. So keeping non-ticketed folks further away to prevent some of the problems that other venues have experienced in years past. So that'll be the hard points. And then there's going to be a soft perimeter around that where people will still need to be go through security screening to get into it. The red line running up and down is Occidental Avenue. That is pretty busy area. There's a number of restaurants and bars and places that people will likely hang out before, during, and after games to celebrate and participate in the fun. And then the other colors here just indicate potential roadway restrictions or closures that would be set up during games. In comparison to non-game days, where those restrictions would be largely lifted, aside from the secure perimeter around the stadium, again, that dotted red line. And finally, on this map, we're just looking at the primary pedestrian routes around the stadium area, which includes Pioneer Square, and then continuing north into the downtown core area up through Westlake Station, which is near the midpoint of the map. That's our retail core in downtown Seattle. So there's a lot of interest in making sure people can get around easily and safely between these different sites. You see the Ferris wheel, the great wheel that's on the waterfront. It's been there a few years now, pretty popular attraction. The Pike Place Market, go watch fish being thrown around. There's a sculpture garden a little further north along the waterfront. And then at the top is the Seattle Center, which would be the primary Fan Fest site. In terms of facilities around the state that we are potentially expecting to see World Cup related activity beyond the main stadium in downtown Seattle, which is obviously going to be the site for the games. There are several sites being considered for base camps, including Seattle Sounders brand new practice facility in Renton, south of Seattle, potentially University of Portland and Gonzaga University. Gonzaga's in Spokane and Portland down in Oregon. Practice facilities in and around Seattle, and then the fan activation zones, including Seattle Center, like I've mentioned, and recently announced fan zones in 9 cities across the state to encourage people to gather and enjoy the game and celebrate together. In terms of team and dignitary lodging, there's the main hotel area, both in downtown Seattle and downtown Bellevue, and some ancillary hotel capacity in Renton and some of the surrounding suburbs, especially down near the airport. Just a quick look at what the FanFest site at Seattle Center is going to look like. It's going to be open for it'll be activated for the matches occurring in Seattle, and they're still going through trying to determine how open or active it'll be during other games as well. They've kind of gone back and forth on that point a few times. Our expectation is it's probably going to be open and accessible through most of it, but in particular for the games occurring in town. The capacity for this is upwards of 30,000 attendees per day, and maybe on the order of about 10,000 per game event. And there was some expectation that they would offer free tickets to that and encourage some turnover to occur. So you show up for one game, participate in that, and then your turn is up, and keep moving along and get the next batch of people in to watch the next game. I mentioned that we've got 9 other fan zones across the state, which would be free and open to the public. And then there are going to be about 9 additional community fan zones set up in and around the Seattle area as well, just to give folks more opportunity to participate in this without necessarily having to work their way into the downtown stadium area or up in the Seattle Center for the primary FanFest site. Switching gears a bit here, one of the things that we've been challenged with is funding for promoting and supporting these activities. And our legislature just recently wrapped up their session about 2 months ago and setting up our budget for the next 2 years. We operate on a biennial 2-year cycle from July on odd number years through the second June following. So our next biennium starts July 1st, 2025 through 2027, and they've provided funding for expanded transit service or transit hours. The numbers here are a little wonky. The 9 million, 40% would go to King County Metro. We think there was a clerical error when they set up the bill. The second red number, the 20%, is likely 40% that would be split between Pierce Transit, the county that Tacoma is located in, Community Transit, which is the next area north of Seattle, Kitsap Transit, which is on the west side of Puget Sound, and Sound Transit, which provides our regional rail service primarily. And then 20% to some of the outer lying transit agencies that we've got. 5 million in that vein. An additional 5 million is being provided for intercity bus expansion. So this is a bus system, bus routes connecting outer line cities, mostly east of the Cascade Mountains, and I've got a graphic for that in a moment. Some funding will also go to our ferry system, and then 7.5 million, give or take, coming to WashDOT for our operations support, which includes managing our TMC and expanding the hours of coverage that we have there, incident response teams, and then the support mechanisms for that and maintenance that go along with it. And additional funding going to the State Patrol for border support at the Canadian border. The red number down at the bottom, this wasn't my slide, I just borrowed it. It's just indicating the state did not provide any funding to the city or FIFA fan zone activities. However, the city has been funding the work that they've been doing themselves. Okay, so I mentioned we're focusing on regional mobility, and our intent here is to make sure people can get either into town for the games, or be able to get across town, or to go about their daily lives while these games are going on. So for the duration of the World Cup event between June 11th and last game in Seattle on July 6th, for the roadways shown in yellow or gold, we aren't going to allow any high impact roadway closures or lane closures. We do a lot of construction like everyone else does in the summer, and we have a couple of high impact projects on I-5 just north of downtown that's going to really jam things up, and we've required those projects to pull out and reopen everything while the World Cup is going on, again, to facilitate mobility. The roadways shown in orange will have restrictions for closures, high impact closures, that won't be allowed from noon the day before till noon the day after a game occurring in Seattle. And zooming out a bit, going north of Seattle up to the Canadian border, a similar restriction for back-to-back games between Seattle and Vancouver, BC. And then we're also indicating that we'll minimize high-impact closures or disruptions on the primary east-west routes across the state, mainly I-90, but also US 2, which connects Everett to Wenatchee, the central part of the state. Seattle DOT has a similar set of restrictions that they are going to be implementing right through the downtown core. As you can see here, just about every roadway has a restriction where no work or closures will be allowed for the duration. And then as you move out of downtown into the residential areas and northern parts of the city, you can see those ease up a bit. Focusing mainly on the primary and secondary arterials with similar type restrictions. But as you get to the smaller roads, those restrictions are lifted. But again, it's the main downtown core will be open. It won't have any roadway closures that would impact traffic or folks trying to get around town or go to the events. Just a quick look at the intercity bus network I mentioned previously. So this is a state-funded network of transit providers that connect some of these outer-lying population centers. A couple of routes a day connecting from one end to the other on the different lines that you see here. And so the legislature provided additional funding support for more service hours during the World Cup. I had to jam things together on one slide here, but this is kind of showing the rail network that we've got built up in Seattle at this point. Starting on the left is our Link Light rail system. Runs from Angle Lake, which is stationed just south of the airport, up through the recently opened Linwood City Center Station, about 30 miles to the north. That opened last summer. Very popular route, especially coming out of the north end for folks heading into town for events or commuting. The trains are usually standing room only by the time they hit city limits, coming south in the morning, similar in the afternoon, much less the crush that they get during big events, football games, Sounders games, and especially World Cup as it comes along. The blue line, the two lines shown to the right of that, currently is open just between South Bellevue and downtown Redmond at this point. That just opened about a month ago. Sound Transit, the operating agency for this, is expecting that the link to the west across Lake Washington into downtown Seattle, so between downtown Seattle and South Bellevue on the map there, will open by early 2026. That will vastly improve service or provide more service and capacity on that line between the east side and the north end. Current headways are about 8 minutes during peak times, and that will drop the headways to about 4 minutes between trains, which is fantastic for trying to get downtown to the games. Stadium area is right about center of the map where the blue and green lines come together. Real quickly, the middle graphic is showing our heavy rail, the commuter rail line that runs between Everett on the north and Lakewood, which is south of Tacoma, about an 80-mile line. Doesn't run as often as the light rail line does, but it does provide regular commuter service, and they typically, and are planning to do so actually for the Club World Cup, which starts this weekend. They run special event service and add additional trains service to provide additional alternatives for people trying to get into town for those games. They've done it for baseball games, football games, concerts, Sounders games. So it's nice when they're able to do that. The issue they struggle with at times is a shared line or lease line that they have with Burlington Northern. So they're limited by what they can squeeze onto that with the regular service BNSF is providing. And then finally, over on the far right is the City of Seattle's operated streetcar system. There's two separate lines. Someday, hopefully, they'll join up in the middle and be one contiguous system. But for now, there's a line that goes from just north of the stadium area up onto First Hill and Capitol Hill on the right side. And then up around South Lake Union area, the Amazon part of the city, is shown as well. And Seattle Center, where the Fan Fest site is taking place, is up in that area. And I know someone will probably yell at me that I didn't include the monorail line on here. I just ran out of time on making maps. Okay, one other thing going on that's been happening between King County Metro and coordinating with City of Seattle is providing a custom shuttle in downtown. They've done this a couple of times, a couple of years ago during the Major League All-Star game when it was in town, as well as the Taylor Swift concerts that we had. It provided a circulator type system to get fans between the stadium area, along the waterfront, and other popular areas to the north. I believe that service was free during those events. And I know they're looking at doing something similar for the World Cup as well. So on match days, the proposal would be to circulate with increased frequency from about 3 hours before a game until a couple hours after. Non-match days, it would just serve as a regular circulator connecting the downtown core area or stadium area up to the Seattle Center area. This slide is just showing a depiction of what one of the routes might be. They're still working with the city on teeing this up, and hopefully that they're successful in getting this going. The graphic on the right just shows the different pickup and drop-off areas that are possible around the stadium area. There's a number of different sites and ways that they can get there. So that's all part of the discussion and planning that's going on in the shuttle concept. And the last thing I wanted to touch on is a charter bus site. This is just, so the graphic is oriented with north to the right. It's a long, skinny lot owned by the state. And there's been a proposal, and we're negotiating on this right now, to make use of that site during the World Cup for charter bus parking, up to 90 to 100 buses, as well as 600 or more bicycles parked in the right-hand side of the graphic. This is basically right across the street from the stadium area. There is easy pedestrian access to the promenade and over to the stadium district itself. And that's it. So I will turn it back over to Nick.
Thanks, Mike. That's all really great information. Thanks for your presentation. And I know Seattle is doing some really good things when it comes to these large planned special events. So, you're probably aware that there are some more detailed plans that are available on mobility to FIFA. Anything new that Seattle is going to be offering up in those plans? And and I'm definitely putting you on the spot here, but you don't have to spill the beans if you don't want to. But just that
Uh,
was a question that came up.
sure, yeah, nothing that I can speak to at the moment. And I'm just being honest. Not sure everything that's going on at the city. Again, we're part of the coordinating group with the LOC, but we're not part of the LOC directly.
Okay.
There's obviously a lot of direct coordination going on between the city and the LOC and FIFA. Um, I guess one thing I wanted to emphasize, kind of comparing us to some of the other sites like Dallas and elsewhere, the um, the downtown Seattle is very transit dependent. There is no parking, no public parking that will be available proximate to the stadiums, aside from the expensive lots or if you're staying in a hotel and they provide parking. The surface lot north of the stadium is going to be absorbed into the security perimeter and will be taken over by FIFA. There are also two other large parking garages next to the stadium, one next to Lumen Field and the other is next to the baseball stadium, T-Mobile. Both of those will also not be publicly accessible. They'll be taken over for FIFA dignitaries, VIPs, team shuttles, and that sort of thing. So they'll be controlled and secure. So the public will largely be relying on transit, whether it's taking the bus, one of the train options, walking from wherever they might be to get into downtown for the events. I don't have a number on the mode split. I know it's pretty high, but I wasn't able to dig that up in time for this. So I don't want to offer a wildly incorrect number, but I know it's north of 50%. I just don't recall what the actual number is.
Yeah. Okay. Um, Obviously, there are going to be events going on up in Vancouver, and that's fairly close to where you guys are located. And then, there's going to be some, back and forth in terms of crossing the border. Any coordination efforts with that, and then just overall, and you may not be able to answer this because this might be a FIFA question, but has there been any concerted effort to look for ways to make the experience similar, not only between Vancouver and Seattle, but just across all of the 11 venues, particularly if somebody's going to follow their team, essentially, wherever they're going to go. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can't answer that really directly, but in terms of the connection between Seattle and Vancouver, there is a group coordinating on the border crossing activities. We also have a rail division that's been involved with Amtrak that runs back and forth. I know they were initially considering trying to fund additional service. I don't think that's been funded or going to become a reality, but there is still regular train service across the border. We are working to enhance and update our border crossing system and make sure that that provides that's up to speed and working well and providing reliable travel info for folks that are finding themselves driving back and forth between the two countries and two cities, just so they know what to expect as they approach the border and what kind of wait times they might have to expect or plan for.